The story begins in Bavaria on May 1st, 1776. May 1st is now the satanic holiday of Beltane. Adam Weishaupt, Anton von Mussenhausen, Merz Tiberius, Franz Xavier Zwack, and Adolf Baron von Nige formed the Order of the Illuminati.
The Illuminati was founded on May 1st, 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, a professor at Ingolstadt University. Weishaupt obviously had been a serious student of the occult, for many of its bizarre features and symbols were incorporated into his organization. Weishaupt had been active in the Masonic lodges of Germany and found in them the perfect vehicle for recruiting into his secret order, which he described publicly as the highest level of Freemasonry. The Illuminati was formally incorporated into the Masonic lodges at the Congress of Wilhelmsbad in 1780.
Weishaupt's philosophy was that the Illuminati should rule the world. Adam Weishaupt said the following, quote, "The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but by another name and another activity. None is fitter than Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, expect little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it," unquote. So it was said, they would infiltrate Freemasonry to achieve their goal.
On May 1st, 1776, a Bavarian professor named Adam Weishaupt founded a group called the Illuminati, or Illuminated Ones. Historians don't always agree on all of the group's goals, but those goals did include the abolition of organized religion and the destruction of the nation-state. In a word, anarchy. But that wasn't uncommon at the time. Many Enlightenment-era intellectuals condoned some form of benign anarchy. Weishaupt's group differed initially in its strategic spread. Members of the Illuminati infiltrated the lodges of Freemasons to gain influence and power. Oddly enough, this plan was a success. The Freemasons were already a secretive organization, and they had a penchant for welcoming freethinkers like Weishaupt into their fold. Members of the Illuminati rose to positions of leadership in Freemason lodges throughout Europe, and they did so in secret.
The one who helped Weishaupt gain admission into lodges was Adolf Baron von Nige. Adolf attained the highest degree of the Knights Templar, the Cypric Knight, in 1777 at Hanu. Here's a depiction of a Knights Templar initiation ritual. From late 1777 and onward, Weishaupt and his order infiltrated Masonic lodges all over Belgium, Austria, France, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Hungary, and Italy. One of Weishaupt's first initiates, Louis Philippe Joseph, Duke of Orleans, had already been initiated into the French Grand Lodge, and according to Mackey's Encyclopedia, he was elected Grand Master in 1773 upon the death of Count de Clermont. Weishaupt stated that the plan for the New World Order could not successfully be executed in any other way than through secret societies that gradually and quietly took over government. The Illuminati gained significant control on July 16, 1782, at the Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad. This meeting included Masons from all over Europe and Illuminati members such as von Nige. Here the Illuminati spread their doctrine and promoted their ideology. This allowed them to solidify their control over Masonic lodges of Europe and to be viewed as the leaders of the occult One World movement. The Congress was held at Mayor Amschel Rothschild's castle in Wilhelmsbad. The Congress included representatives of all secret societies, Martinists as well as Freemasons and Illuminati. This historian Nesta Webster tells us this: "Those in the Congress were under oath to reveal nothing. One such Mason, Comte d'Ivory, a member of the Martinist Lodge at Lyons, returning from the Congress could not conceal his alarm, and when questioned on the tragic secrets, he had brought back with him this reply, quote, 'I will not confide them to you. I can only tell you that this is very much more serious than you think. The conspiracy which is being woven is so well thought out that it will be, so to speak, impossible for the monarchy and the church to escape it.'" That's from his biographer M. Costa Bergerard. In Mackey's Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, page 346 and 347, he says, quote, "The order was very popular and enrolled no less than 2,000 names upon its register, among whom were some of the most distinguished men of Germany. It extended rapidly into other countries, and its lodges were to be found in France, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Hungary, and Italy," unquote. As the order grew very powerful in Europe, patriotic ruler Duke Karl Theodor came to power in Bavaria. He issued a ban against all secret societies in Bavaria. For this reason, on July 20th, 1785, Franz George Lang was struck by lightning and died on a courier route with instructions from Weishaupt about the planned French Revolution, addressed to the Grand Master of the Grand Orient in Paris. Everything was handed over to the Bavarian government. On August 4th, a new ban on secret societies was issued.
Weishaupt's group developed a system of codes and secret gestures to preserve their covert order, and only the Illuminatists at the top of the organization knew the full extent of their plan. However, the Illuminati themselves had internal conflicts, and soon former members came to the authorities with ominous stories and accounts of strange rites and dangerous, world-changing schemes. This created an uproar in the establishment, and by 1785, officials in Bavaria ordered both the Illuminati and the Freemasons suppressed. After this, it becomes difficult to track the group. Some members doubtlessly went underground, and some conspiracy theorists believe Illuminati members triggered the French Revolution. Although details of the group's actions remain fuzzy, most mainstream historians agree that the Illuminati fizzled out and disappeared after 1785. Or did they?
On February 11th, Weishaupt was discharged and forbidden to live in Ingolstadt or Munich. On February 16th, he went underground and was hidden by his Illuminati brother, Joseph Martin. A few days later, he fled to Nuremberg for a short while, and then traveled to the free city of Rathenberg, where he continued his activities underground. Although the Bavarian government arrested as many Illuminati members as they could possibly find, and even had 4 testify exposing the satanic nature of its aims, by this point the Illuminati so thoroughly enmeshed itself into Freemasonry across Europe, there was no telling where Illuminism ended and Freemasonry began. The documents that were seized by the Bavarian government were sent to all European leaders to warn them, but there was a failure to heed warning. Some of the European leaders had already fallen under the influence of the Illuminati, and others found it just too difficult to believe. As a result of the alliance with the Rothschilds, the Illuminati grew, it took root, it flourished, it gathered itself more men of royal and noble titles. Even the Jesuits joined. The Rothschilds had played a major role in the Bavarian Illuminati, hosting the Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad. When Amschel Rothschild died, headship fell onto Nathan Rothschild of England. The bloodline continued to infiltrate lodges in England.
It should be noted that Freemasonry in England and America, historically, is quite different. Its members are characterized by the highest standards of integrity. Nevertheless, it is a fact that from 1780 on, the Illuminati did flourish as a parasite on the highest levels of the Masonic movement in Europe, especially the Grand Orient Lodges of France. There were 8 conspiratorial rings within rings, advancing from the outermost novice inward to Rex, or king. The king, of course, was Weishaupt himself, who had adopted the code name Spartacus.
13 years after the Illuminati supposedly stopped, Reverend G.W. Snyder wrote George Washington a letter, August 22, 1798. He says, quote, "A society of Freemasons that distinguished itself by the name of Illuminati, whose plan is to overthrow all government and religion. It might be within your power to prevent the horrid plan from corrupting these English lodges over which you preside." Unquote. Here's the original manuscript sources of George Washington's writings from the U.S. Government Printing Office. In response to Snyder's letter, Washington writes, quote, "I have heard much of the nefarious and dangerous plan and doctrines of the Illuminati. It is not my intention to doubt that the doctrine of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am." Joseph Willard, president of Harvard in 1812, said, quote, "There is sufficient evidence that a number of societies of the Illuminati have been established in this land. They are doubtless trying to secretly undermine all our ancient institutions, civil and sacred. The enemies of all order are seeking our ruin. Should they prevail, our independence would fall, of course. A republican government would be annihilated."
The destruction of all religion, replaced by the worship of reason, or humanism. And the destruction of all independent governments, replaced by a new world order, a world government ruled from behind the scenes by the illuminated ones. The public record of the Illuminati is quite thin, but it does show that before it was exposed briefly in 1786, It had already enjoyed immense success in attracting into its outer rings some of the most prominent men of Europe. Its roster included important names in both government and finance. It was the most important single force behind the French Revolution. Each year, May 1st is celebrated by communists world over as a day of international solidarity. As mentioned previously, the Illuminati also was founded on May 1st. Undoubtedly, this is merely a coincidence. The symbol of the all-seeing eye is closely associated with the Illuminati. Like many other features of this conspiracy, apparently it was taken by Adam Weishaupt from the occult symbolism of ancient history. It appears today among the symbols of the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, and many others around the world, including the Cao Dai in South Vietnam. Undoubtedly, it is merely a coincidence that the all-seeing eye now appears on the alternate side of the Great Seal of the federal government, and also on the $1 notes of the Federal Reserve System. At the bottom of the seal, in Roman numerals, there is the date 1776. This, of course, is the year of American independence. Undoubtedly, it is merely a coincidence that it is also the year of the founding of the Illuminati. But then, perhaps, none of this is merely a coincidence.
Historians differ on some details of the Illuminati and its founder, but agree that Weishaupt was both the real person and the real founder of the Illuminati. After Bavarian officials ordered the group suppressed, Weishaupt fled Ingolstadt and settled in Gotha in 1787, where he renounced his connection to secret societies and passed away in 1830. To some, this death marks the end of the Illuminati, but to others, Weishaupt's death was far less important than outsiders suppose. If we suppose, for the sake of argument, that the Illuminati are a real and active organization, then there's only one important question. What are they planning to do next? The most pressing question about the Illuminati isn't how they came to exist. It's what they plan to do with centuries' worth of influence and power. The first is generally thought to be the establishment of a one-world government. According to theorists like Mark Dice, manufactured crises or false flag attacks will force world citizens to accept the security of a global government. Other theorists predict that these false crises may be staged religious experiences, wars, or economic collapse. The second commonly alleged goal of the Illuminati is the massive depopulation of the planet through disease, war, or starvation. In this theory, the Illuminati wants to reduce the world's population to approximately 500 million. The theorists who believe this goal quote Prince Philip's controversial remarks about population growth, along with the Georgia Guidestones, which set out a strange list of commands for the future. The third and most obscure perceived goal of the Illuminati is the achievement of something called the Great Work. The Great Work is typically associated with Freemasonry. This work is alternately described as a magic spell, a ritual, or spiritual transcendence. However, the specifics of the Great Work are thought to be closely guarded secrets. Theorists also claim that the modern Illuminati operate under different names in groups such as the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, or the Trilateral Commission. Theorists allege that leaders of world government, finance, and trade secretly plan to accomplish Illuminati goals in these meetings. In short, these groups are interlocking pieces of one large conspiracy, and while some leaders may appear to be competitors, they are in fact cooperating. As the world experiences dramatic rises in income inequality, wealth and influence are increasingly found in the hands of fewer and fewer people, and globalization has made the world a much smaller place. While a global government may have been impossible for most of human history, it has now become a possibility, if not a probability, of the future. The idea of a shadowy elite beyond the rule of law running the world for its own pleasure may be fiction now. But for how long?